ladies and gentlemen, Gary Moore.
Hi, friends. Welcome to another edition of To Tell the Truth. Today on our program, we pay tribute to one of the most fantastic haunted houses that was ever built. It is a house with windows in the floors, trapdoors leading nowhere, and it is lighted with 13 candle chandeliers in rooms with 13 panes in every window. It's a perfect place for ghoulies and ghosties and things that go bump in the night. Speaking of which, let's greet our panel here on To Tell the Truth.
Peggy Cass. Bill Cullen. Kitty Carlisle. And Alan Ludden.
We have four sophisticated people here. Do any of you have any belief whatsoever in ghosts?
Oh, I do.
Do you really?
Yeah.
I think I do.
I know I do.
I don't really, except I'm afraid to admit it. I think that's the situation. It's one of those things, you know. Anyhow, but let us now meet a man who makes his living in a mystery house.
Number one, what is your name, please?
My name is Brent Miller.
Number two.
My name is Brent Miller.
Number three.
My name is Brent Miller.
And here is the mysterious monograph of Brent Miller. He says, I, Brent Miller, am the caretaker of the Winchester Mystery House. This extraordinary structure was created by Mrs. Sarah Winchester, the heiress to the vast Winchester arms fortune. She was fearful of the ghosts of those who died from Winchester rifles. So for her protection, she created a rambling labyrinth of a home, all in different styles and with the most fantastic detail inside. It has 160 chambers sprawled over 6 acres of land. Mrs. Winchester believed that as long as the house remained unfinished, she would never die. Thus, for 38 years, a crew of carpenters worked non-stop to create the Mystery House from plans drawn by Mrs. Winchester, mainly inspired by her nightly seances. A main feature of the house are the staircases, which wind and twist and lead frequently to nowhere at all. The famous 7-Eleven staircase requires 7 steps down before climbing 11 steps up. Mrs. Winchester was tiny of stature, and here is her own little door right next to a standard-sized door. After her death, further construction was stopped, and it took the movers 6 weeks to get the furniture out because they kept being trapped by one-way doors, stairs to blank walls, and corridors to unopenable doors. Signed, Brent Miller. Wouldn't you love to see Laurel and Hardy in a place like that? We'll be back in a moment after hearing not from our ghosts, but rather from our angels.
Washer's all washed up. I love it.
AC went kaput? That's cool.
With a home warranty from American Home Shield, every day is a good day for a breakdown. You don't have to worry about the day when something stops working or expensive repairs. Because when surprise breakdowns happen, AHS will be there to fix or replace parts of the systems and appliances you rely on every day. They help protect your time and money by connecting you with qualified pros and helping pay for covered repairs or replacements. AHS offers affordable plans for every home and options to tailor your coverage so it's just right. With more than 50 years of experience, they know how to keep you smiling when things don't go as planned. It feels good to be right when things go wrong. Get the protection you need with American Home Shield. Sign up today and get $100 off any plan with code AHS100. Visit AHS.com or call 833-PLAN-AHS for this special offer.
Anyone has told you that gaining weight, feeling tired, and joint issues is just a part of getting older, they are wrong. My name is Dr. Stephen Gundry, and I found a new way to support my health. It's called BioComplete 3. BioComplete 3 works by restoring your gut health from the inside out. This is working for everybody.
I was 270. I'm now 140. It just feels amazing.
You can try BioComplete 3 risk-free for 90 days. Go to guthealthsecret.com.
Let me show the folks at home how we solve this puzzle. I plus M, aim A jar, per pill, P-cab, boo, spaghetti, L-leaf plus fan plus T. You combine all of those, I'm the major purple peekaboo spaghetti elephant.
Alex Trebek explains it all for you. Classic Concentration. Weekdays starting at 1 on BUZZR.
Well, now, surely you will not have forgotten. We have three gentlemen with us. They all say that they are Brent Miller, caretaker of the Winchester Mystery House. And let's begin the questioning with a man from California, where the Winchester House is, Mr. Alan Ludden.
Well, you've answered number 3. Where in California is the Winchester House?
The Winchester Mystery House is in San Jose.
Number 2. Is there such a thing as a ghost of a child?
I don't know.
Number 1. What do they call the ghost of a child?
An incubus.
Number 3. Did Mrs. Winchester believe that the ghost occupied the house in spite of all of her efforts?
Something we don't really know for sure, but I guess she believed she did, or they did.
Number 2, are there any stairs in this house that open onto a precipice?
Yes, there are.
Number 1, how many?
1.
How deep is the precipice, number 3?
About 8 feet.
One way to keep yourself stocked with ghosts, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's go down to Peggy.
I don't think 8 feet is so much of a precipice. I mean, it's just a kind of a little precipice. Number 3, where was Mr. Winchester?
He died before Mrs. Winchester moved out to California.
Uh-huh. Now, number 1, was Mrs. Winchester very superstitious, and is that why she had the 7-Eleven staircase?
Yes.
Uh-huh. Now, number 2, when did Mrs. Winchester die?
She died in 1922.
Well, number 3, when you go to think about she thought all the people that had ever been killed by Winchesters were after her, right? Would that mean Billy the Kid, the James boys, and a lot of Indians, right?
Right.
Now, number 1, was it used in the Civil War, the Winchester?
Yes, there were guns that were used in the Civil War.
Well, she needed it because to keep all those guys out.
Oh, my. All right, let's go down to Bill Cullen.
Number 1, how old was Mrs. Winchester when she died?
She was almost 85.
Number 3, of what did Mrs. Winchester die?
Natural causes.
So we have to conclude, number 2, that whole thing she was worried about was for nothing. Is that the idea?
We assume so, unless ghosts can produce natural causes unnaturally, you know.
Yeah, well, you got to watch him. Yeah, you got to keep your eye on him every minute. Number 3, when Mrs. Winchester died, they were still working on this house. Is that right?
Right.
And now number 3, if one wants to see it, is it a tourist attraction? I mean, can you go there and pay and take a look at it?
Right. We run guided tours through the Winchester Mystery House daily.
How much, number 1, does...
And on, please, to Kitty Carlisle.
Fascinating. Number 1, she was obviously had a guilty conscience about those guns, right?
Yes.
Instead of building a mystery house, she should have done what Nobel did and give prizes to people. Would have been more useful. Number 2, did she have any children?
Yes, she did. Unfortunately, she had one daughter who died about a month after childbirth.
And that's the only child?
Yes.
Number 2, I think you're the one that may, of the 3 of you, who may believe in ghosts. You are a caretaker in this house. Do you live there alone at night?
Did you ask number 2?
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Do you ever hear anything peculiar?
My dog.
What kind of a dog is it that's so peculiar?
All righty, we just heard ourselves a mysterious tinkle of the little bell, which means we must mark our ballots. And we will mark them for number 1, or for number 2, or for number 3.
Hello, I'm former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee. A lot of times you can't control the amount of sleep that you're getting. If you can't fall asleep or you're tossing and turning all night, you can't get the sleep you need to stay healthy. I know, it's scary, unless you use Relaxium Sleep. Relaxium Sleep is a product that's made from natural ingredients, and it usually works from the very first night you try it. It helps you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up refreshed, earning your body those quality hours of sleep that it desperately needs.
Join the hundreds of thousands of people who've experienced the relief and health benefits from getting a great night's sleep and get Relaxium Sleep.
The first time I took Relaxium and I slept through the night, I thought, wow, this worked for me. I could not believe it.
Relaxium Sleep is studied, tested, and designed by a neurologist to help you fall asleep faster, stay asleep longer, and wake up refreshed.
Relaxium Sleep worked from the very first night I took it. I had more focus and mental clarity than I've had in years.
Relaxium is drug-free and not addictive, so you can take Relaxium every night and never worry about side effects. And the best part is, it can start working from the very first night.
When I take Relaxium Sleep, I sleep better than I have in years.
I wake up feeling like I've had the best night's sleep.
Stop being afraid and start sleeping your fears away with Relaxium Sleep. Your body and your mind will thank you.
Mike Huckabee is so confident that Relaxium will work for you, he's asked us to give away 1,000 bottles.
If you're not getting calm enough to go to sleep, take Relaxium Sleep. I promise you it'll work.
Get your risk-free bottle of Relaxium Sleep now. It's guaranteed to work or your money back. Visit tryrelaxium.com or call 800-418-1635. That's tryrelaxium.com or call 800-418-1635.
Look, we know it's going to be a big change.
But it's the right thing to do for all of us.
It's just your mother and I want different things.
Which is why we got Sling TV.
So we can watch live and free TV all in one app?
That's right.
Dad gets live sports and news, and I get my reality shows.
And when we don't want to pay, your mom and I can still get hundreds of channels for free.
Sling is really keeping this family together.
You have no idea.
You have no idea.
Sling, the live TV you love. Sling.
Pay $50 for each wrong vote. We pay the group $500 on a complete stump. And Alan, if you have arrived at a decision?
Well, you know, number two's candor kind of impressed me. The fact that he said he didn't know whether there were ghosts of children. And I don't know, I like this dog answer. I was convinced he wasn't the one until he said it about the dog. And so I went for two, and I'm probably wrong, but I was so good yesterday.
We'll find out. We have a two. We're going to Peg.
Can't live on memories, Alan. Number two, I think you're a New York kid, so I'm not going to vote for you. Number one, you knew Incubus, and that was very good, but there's something about number three. I mean, he runs them daily. That's a pitch for the customers to come and see it. I think it's you.
There's a two and there's a three. Bill Cullen.
I'm going to vote for number one. He has a look of a fellow who knows about that sort of stuff.
He does.
1, 2, and 3. Kitty, you're going to break
I voted
the
for
tie.
him on the basis of your question. He knew what an incubus was. So I voted for number one.
All right, the votes are all in. Will the real Brent Miller please levitate himself? It's number Thank you, Mr. Miller. Let's find out about your vote-getting friends. Very good. Number one, what is your real name, please, and what do you do?
My name is David Pace, and I'm a Columbia graduate student.
Good. Number two, tell us about you.
My name is Ken Bromberg, and I'm a mountain climber.
Well, now. Well, Mr. Miller, I'll certainly come visit you sometime during the day.
Anytime.
And thank you very much for being with us, and thank you, gentlemen, also. Panel, listen closely. The dictionary defines the word protocol as being a set of rules governing diplomatic etiquette and ceremony. Our next guest is a protocol expert, and she has prepared a little test to see how our panel would conduct themselves in high society.
Oh.
Now, Miss Peggy Cass.
Oh, I knew I'd
Starting
go
with
first.
you, tell me, please, the answer to this. Before leaving home to attend a formal reception, you don your long white gloves. At what point do you remove them?
Before you take a drink.
When you shake hands?
I have a drink before I shake
When you
hands.
dip them into potato chip sauce.
I wear mine all night.
Yeah.
The answer is at the end of the receiving line.
Oh.
That is the proper answer. Bill Cullen.
Oh, yes, sir.
As a world-famous gourmet, I'm sure you can tell us exactly how many oysters are proper to serve to each guest as the first course at a formal dinner. There is an exact number.
Oh, yes, at our house we always serve 5 because 4 aren't enough and 6 are gauche. Which has an R in it, so it's all right. But we serve 5, invariably.
You know what the answer is?
What?
5. You know, I thought the Bill's biggest problem was going to be which side of the paper plates do you put the plastic forks? Kitty, let me see who's next. Kitty.
Oh, Kitty's good.
No,
Good.
Kitty. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Now, do you know why it is not desirable to have a dinner party that includes a total number of guests divisible by 4?
Because the hostess and the host can't sit at opposite ends of the table.
Yeah, that is indeed one of the reasons. The host or hostess ends up on the side of the table, or a husband must sit next to a wife, which I think is a dandy thing, but apparently not supposed to, or 2 guests of the same sex have adjoining seats.
That's right.
Now, Alan Ludden, here is your question.
Now, I haven't been sitting next to Kitty as long as Bill, so I won't know this.
Well, here, butter is never served at a truly formal dinner.
Butter?
Butter is never served at a truly formal dinner, and there are no bread and butter plates, therefore. Then, what do you do with your bread or with the roll?
What I do with it? I mean, before I eat it?
Yes, and consider your answer carefully.
Yes.
Where could I put it?
I'm glad you got this one.
I wonder who I'm sitting next to. It's always... Well, I just wouldn't take any.
You place it on the tablecloth next to your plate, which to me is the mark of a distinct slob. But panel, you're all a great social success. Let us now invite amongst our midst the most welcome guest on television, our sponsors.
You will never smell better everywhere like you will with Lumi. It's so easy to use. Just a pea-sized amount like this rubs in like a lotion, controls odor for 3 days on pits, feet, privates, anywhere you have odor but wish you didn't. Now, before you say, isn't that what soap and water is for? I'm here to tell you that your shower doesn't work as well as you think it does. And Lumi is clinically proven to work better than a shower with soap. Give Lumi a try and see what happens, because your body has never been so odor-free as it will be with Lumi. It's one less thing to worry about.
I got this $1,000 camera for only $41 on Deal Dash.
DealDash.com. Online auctions since 2009. This PlayStation 5 sold for only 50 cents. This iPad Pro sold for less than $34. And this Nintendo Switch sold for less than $20.
I got this KitchenAid stand mixer for only $56. I got this barbecue smoker for $26.
And shipping is always free.
Go to DealDash.com right now and see how much you can save.
Whoa, now that's a smooth shave. You might think these guys had to pay top dollar for a shave that smooth. But they just used Harry's. With 5 blades that stay sharp, shave after shave, a lubricating strip with aloe, a flex hinge, and a trimmer blade, it's hard to believe refills start at just $2, half of what the other guys charge. Shaving with Harry's isn't pricey. It's just very, very, very smooth. Wake up to Harry's. Get your trial set for just $7 at harrys.com/smooth.
Now let us meet our expert on protocol.
Number 1, what is your name, please?
My name is Mrs. Gladstone Williams.
Number 2.
My name is Mrs. Gladstone Williams.
Number 3.
My name is Mrs. Gladstone Williams.
And here is the very proper prose of Mrs. Gladstone Williams. It says, I, Mrs. Gladstone Williams, am a teacher of protocol. At my school in Washington, D.C., students achieve the assurance that comes from knowing how to follow the social rules. I teach protocol to diplomats, to bankers, to generals, to members of Congress, and, of course, to anxious young wives new on the Washington scene who often attend class with their husbands. My graduates can confidently create a dinner party seating plan which places the guests in the proper order of precedence. They're also taught how to dissect an artichoke, peel an orange, and use asparagus scissors. They're instructed in the correct forms of address for an English earl, a cabinet official, or an archbishop. Most important of all, they learn how to enjoy social events and make their guests feel welcome. Not all of my protocol classes are directed at high society entertaining. I also teach prospective hostesses how to give a seated dinner for 10 without servants and without ever having to leave the table. Signed, Mrs. Gladstone Williams. I I often give a seated dinner for 10 without servants or without leaving the table. Will someone please ask me how I...
How do you do it?
How do you do that? How do I do that?
How do you do it?
I take them to Chicken Delight. I want to thank you for asking me, otherwise I couldn't have said that marvelous thing that I just said. Who better to begin the questioning with Miss Kitty Carlisle?
Oh, thank you. Number 2, how do you address the Duke?
You address the Duke by simply calling him Duke Jones or Duke Smith, whatever his name happens to be.
What about Your Grace?
Your Grace. Your Grace, sir.
Oh, is that what you call him, Your Grace, sir?
Yes.
Uh-huh. Number 3, what do you call the Queen of England?
Your Majesty.
And number 1, what do you... Well, let's find out about this dinner party. That really is the most important. How can you give a dinner for 10 people and not leave the table, number 1?
That, I'm afraid, is one of my trade secrets. That's
And you're not
what
gonna
I
tell
teach
us?
at the school.
Well, then, number 1, let me ask you this. If you're writing a letter to a Marchioness, how do you address the envelope?
The Marchioness of Blandford. And if you were speaking to her, you would say, Lady so-and-so.
I always like it better if you could call the Duke Coco or something.
Oh, yes, always do. Let's go to Alan.
Oh, how do you, number 3, how do you address a letter to an archbishop?
Your Excellency.
Oh, not the way I heard it. Number 2, how do you cut an artichoke?
Well,
Dissect an artichoke, because I always just take off the little things and...
Yes, well, that's almost quite right. There are various ways, but the most simple way is simply to take each leaf separately in your fingers and gently bite the end of the artichoke that is closest to the core or the heart.
You can just peel it like this, and just with your teeth.
Yes, each one separately.
Is there any way we go up or down? There's no rules about that. Number 1, what is this asparagus scissors thing?
Well,
is that a trade secret too?
No, that's not a trade secret, but very few people use asparagus scissors anymore. Most of the time you do eat them with a knife and fork.
Mm-hmm.
You do have tongs sometimes to serve them with. But you just simply use your knife and fork, and if you're at a formal dinner, you do not usually use your fingers.
Number 3.
My Ellen, we're going down to Peggy.
But number 2, do Europeans eat asparagus with knives and forks?
Sometimes, if they have the proper utensils, they still use the tongs. There are special asparagus tongs.
Oh, are you kidding? Doesn't every good house have an asparagus tong?
Not in the United States.
Thank you. Now, number 3, if you were going to give a dinner party, and at your dinner party would be present the Shah of Iran, King Faisal of Saudi Arabia, and Monsieur Stangastar of France, who would be first, second, and third in that order? First place in show.
All right, well, may I have the names again?
Shah of Iran.
Yes.
King Faisal of Saudi Arabia.
King Faisal of Saudi Arabia.
Would be number 1, and who'd be... Why?
Because he's the ruler of a country.
Well, what is the Shah of Iran?
He's an ambassador.
Oh, right, of course. Well,
Oh, I beg your pardon. The Shah is the... I beg your pardon. The Shah is the ruler of his country.
I don't
Right,
care.
well-
So
And the Shah would
sit
go
on
for-
Faisal's lap. Both in
The
the same
Shah
chair.
would be the ranking guest.
All righty. And Bill Cullen last.
I think the Shaw should get the check, too, the way things have been going, number 3. Good check, and just give him a check and walk away. That's what I've done.
And he can pay for it, too.
Yes, I have dined frequently, number 1, with Duke Ziebert. Do you know him as far as royalty is concerned in Washington, D.C.?
No, I'm afraid I haven't met him.
Number 2, when eating corn off the cob, is it important to rotate the cob away from you and from right to left, or toward you and from right, because I can pull
Whichever
it
is most comfortable for you, whichever is most comfortable. However, you do not cut off the kernels from the cob at the table.
see, I
Thank
told
you. Number 3, if one's dentures should become dislodged. Well, no, I mean, you can, there are various levels of class. I mean,
And you just sunk to the lowest.
I'm at the lowest. I'll never forget when we made wings. Wings, bring me a couple of brandies. Number 1.
The most astute questioning of the day goes to Bill Cullen, and along with it a little bell which signifies voting time. And one votes politely, I trust, for number 1, or for number 2, or for number 3. And Kitty Carlisle starts, please.
Very difficult indeed. I don't believe any one of them is the real one. Because you don't address a duke as your grace, sir. That your grace is only for servants. Got mixed up with the Shah, and also the Archbishop. You don't address it. It's your eminence for the Archbishop. And
don't call him Bish.
No. And number 2 wouldn't tell us about the 10 people. You can't do that.
You can't change your vote, Alan.
You can't change your vote.
You and your California way.
Okay. Whatever you had, you got.
Okay.
And
you and your California.
And now, what did you have? Kitty got it too.
All right. Well, okay. I can't change.
No, you cheat.
I wasn't cheating. I just forgot about the bishop. But I had 3, and I put it back. But I think she's wrong about the Archbishop. But I got no help from Bill's questions whatsoever.
I guarantee. A 2 and a 3 and a Peggy.
By listening very careful to my colleague, Mr. Cullen, it was very easy for me to ascertain the real classy broad in the show. And it's number 1.
You're doing well.
Very well.
Doing well.
So we have 1, 2, and 3, and Bill Cullen, you're going to be the tiebreaker.
When I was a kid, if you wanted to get a letter to the Archbishop, you tacked a buck on the envelope and dropped it in the poor box. I voted for number 3.
That's the way it goes. And it was a tough one. It's a good team. The votes are in. Will the real Mrs. Gladstone Williams please stand up? And which is it, number 2 or number 3? I believe it's number... Now, they both sat down together. Will the real one please stand up? So, there we go. Very well. Let's find out who our successful imposters were. Number 1, please. What is your name? What do you do?
My name is Mary Orth Palavicini, and I'm an administrative assistant at Calvary Church here in New York.
Hey, nice to have you with us. Number 2, tell us about yourself.
My name is Jessica Bailey. I'm a race car coordinator at the Bridgeport Speedway. And I'd like to say to Kitty that I did know the proper answer. It's just that you got me off guard.
Not only that, but she's an imposter and is therefore allowed to lie, so she wasn't committed to a truthful answer. Mrs. Gladstone Williams, thank you very much. You have made us most joyous and terribly self-conscious.
I would like to say that a cardinal is called your eminence.
A cardinal is called your eminence.
No.
Archbishop is called what?
On a letter, you can just say Bishop so-and-so.
Not to a cardinal.
Well, I'll tell you what we have to say now. We have to say thanks to all 3 of you and like that.
Our first team of challengers will receive a...
Are you or someone you love struggling with an addiction to drugs or alcohol and want to be set free from the chains of addiction? Then call Addiction Helpline America right now to get the help you need. From drug and alcohol addiction to dual diagnosis treatment, we provide a confidential helpline to help people like you get sober and live happy, substance-free lives. With one call, you can be on the phone with addiction specialists across the country who will guide you on the next steps to find the freedom and healing you desperately need.
Dangerous ladders, gutter muck? Ugh, no wonder you hate cleaning your gutters. Good thing there's Leaf Filter. Our patented filter technology keeps leaves and debris out of your gutters forever. Guaranteed. Call 833-LEAF-FILTER to get started and get the permanent gutter solution that ends clogs for good.
They took the time to answer all of our questions. They really put us at ease.
End clogged gutters for good. Call 833-LEAF-FILTER or visit leaffilter.com today.
Does a physical or mental health condition keep you from working? Do you need help applying for disability benefits? Or have you already been denied disability? Call Disability Help today. Get the Social Security disability benefits you deserve. Get connected with disability representatives nationwide without leaving your home. Social Security disability cases are time sensitive. Don't wait and call the number on your screen now.
One tiny etiquette hint, never slap a lady while she's chewing tobacco. Take care.
This is Bill Wendell speaking for To Tell the Truth, a Mark Goodson, Bill Todman production.